My son, David, thought he had it all figured out. He'd already picked out the nursing home where I'd spend my final years, helpless and forgotten. But in 72 hours, he discovered that the only thing he'd be inheriting was a lifetime of regret. Before we continue, please subscribe to hear more stories of justice served cold. I'm Harold Peterson, 68 years old, and until last Tuesday, I believed I'd raised a good son. My wife, Margaret, and I built Peterson Construction from nothing, just a pickup truck and determination back in 1982. We worked ourselves to the bone, missing dinners, school plays, always telling ourselves it would be worth it when we could give our children everything we never had. Margaret passed 2 years ago. Pancreatic cancer, quick and merciless. In those final weeks, she made me promise to take care of David and his wife Ashley. "They're struggling, Harold," she'd said, her hand weak in mine. "Promise me you'll help them." I kept that promise, paid off their credit cards, $47,000, covered their mortgage when David lost another job, $8,400, funded their vacations because Ashley needed a break from stress, $15,000 to Cabo, $12,000 to Europe. I even bought David a partnership in a landscaping business, $125,000 that disappeared faster than morning dew. The landscaping business failure should have been my first warning. David had sworn he'd changed, that this was his chance to prove himself. I'd sat in my lawyer's office, signing the check, remembering the boy who used to follow me to construction sites, wearing a tiny hard hat Margaret had bought him. That boy had wanted to build things. This man only knew how to tear them down. Within 6 months, his partner called me. David hadn't shown up in weeks. Equipment was missing. Clients were furious about unfinished jobs. I paid another $35,000 to settle the lawsuits and close the business properly. When I confronted David, he blamed everyone but himself. His partner was crooked, the clients were unreasonable, the economy was bad. Ashley had stood beside him, nodding supportively. "David's just not meant for manual labor," she'd said, examining her manicured nails. "He's more of an ideas person." Every Sunday, I'd have them over for dinner. I'd cook Margaret's pot roast recipe, trying to get it just right. The kitchen would fill with the smell of rosemary and garlic, and for a moment, I could almost feel her presence. David would show up late, if at all. Ashley would spend the meal on her phone, posting pictures of her food with captions about suffering through another family obligation. I'd tried talking to David about it once. "Your mother loved these dinners," I'd said. It meant everything to her when family gathered. He'd barely looked up from his phone. "Mom's gone, Dad. Things change." The words had hit me like a physical blow. Yes, Margaret was gone, but did that mean everything she valued had to die with her? I told myself they were grieving too, that they'd come around. I made excuses. David was struggling to find his path. Ashley came from a difficult family herself. Margaret would have wanted me to be patient. But Margaret also would have known when patience became enabling. Last Tuesday started like any other. I woke at 5:47 a.m., made my coffee, dark roast, no sugar, just like Margaret used to tease me about, and sat in my study reviewing the quarterly reports from the company. Peterson Construction was having its best year ever. The commercial contracts I'd been cultivating for a decade were finally paying off. The Riverside Mall renovation alone was worth $2.3 million. The business was valued at $3.2 million, with another $1.8 million in assets. I'd been thinking about retirement, but not the kind David imagined. I wanted to travel to the places Margaret and I had always planned to visit. Scotland, where her grandparents were from, New Zealand, where we'd honeymooned but never returned. I wanted to teach apprentices, pass on the old-world craftsmanship that was dying out. At 9:15 a.m., Ashley called. This was unusual. She never called unless they needed money. "Hi, Dad." Her voice was syrupy sweet. I should have known then. In 2 years, she'd never called me Dad unless a check was involved. "David and I were wondering if we could stop by this afternoon. We have something important to discuss." "Of course," I said. "I'll put coffee on." "Oh, and Dad, could you have all your financial documents ready? You know, bank statements, the business papers, house deed. We want to help you get everything organized." A chill ran down my spine, but I agreed. After hanging up, I stood in my study, looking at the pictures covering the walls. Margaret and me breaking ground on our first major project. David at 5, playing with toy trucks in a sandbox. My daughter Emma's wedding. She lived in Australia now, called every week, never asked for money, just asked how I was doing, if I was eating properly, if I'd like to visit. Something made me call my neighbor, Joe Martinez. Joe and I had been friends for 30 years, ever since he'd moved in next door. "Harold? Everything okay?" Joe's voice was concerned. I rarely called during work hours. "Joe, I might be paranoid, but David and Ashley are coming by with some papers. Financial stuff. Something feels off." Joe was quiet for a moment. "Want me to drop by? I could be working on my car in the driveway. Keep an ear out." "Would you mind? After what you and Margaret did for us when Maria was sick, I'll be there all afternoon." They arrived at 2:30 p.m., David wearing a suit I'd never seen before, Ashley clutching a leather folder like it contained nuclear codes. They sat on Margaret's floral sofa, the one she'd reupholstered herself 3 times over the years because she could never throw away something that still had life in it. David cleared his throat. He'd practiced this, I realized, rehearsed it like a school play. "Dad, we need to talk about your future." I sipped my coffee, waited. Margaret had taught me the power of silence in negotiations. "You're getting older," Ashley jumped in, unable to bear the quiet. "Living alone in this big house, running that company, it's too much. We've found a wonderful assisted living facility, Golden Acres. They have activities, medical staff, everything you need." She pulled out a glossy brochure, spreading it on the coffee table. Pictures of smiling seniors playing cards, eating in a dining room that looked like a hotel restaurant. None of them looked like they'd ever built anything with their hands, ever came home covered in drywall dust and satisfied exhaustion. "I'm 68, not 98, I said. "I run 5 miles every morning. I still work on site 3 days a week." David shifted uncomfortably. "It's not about now, Dad. It's about planning. What happens when you fall? When you forget to take medication? When you can't manage the business?" "Doctor, Webb says you've been showing signs," Ashley added quickly. Too quickly. "Confusion, memory issues." "Doctor, Webb? When did I see Doctor? Webb?" They exchanged glances. David recovered first. "He's noticed things at the club, during golf. He's concerned." Marcus Webb, David's golf buddy who'd lost his hospital privileges 2 years ago for overprescribing opioids. I'd heard the rumors at the Rotary Club. "We've already talked to a lawyer," Ashley added, pulling papers from her folder. "Power of attorney documents. It's standard. You'd sign over decision-making authority to David, just for emergencies, of course." I set down my coffee cup carefully, the way Margaret taught me, without making a sound. And the business? We'd manage it for you, David said quickly. Keep it in the family. You could focus on relaxing. I built that company with your mother, I said slowly. 40 years of 4 a.m. mornings, bid proposals written at this kitchen table, your mother doing the books while you slept upstairs. You want me to just hand it over? It's not like that, Ashley protested. We're trying to help. Do you know how much Golden Acres costs? $8,000 a month for the level of care you'll need. The house sale would cover that, plus, I'll need. I stood up, walked to the window. Margaret's roses were blooming, red as blood against the white fence. She'd planted them the first year we owned the house, said every home needed something beautiful that required tending. According to whose diagnosis? Dad, please. David's voice took on a wheedling tone I remembered from his teenage years. We've put down a deposit, $20,000, non-refundable. Ashley's parents helped. With my money, no doubt. I turned to face them. The check I wrote you last month for the investment opportunity? The silence stretched like taffy. Get out. The words were quiet, but they cut through the room like a blade. Dad, David started. Get out of my house, now. You're being irrational, Ashley snapped, her sweet facade cracking. This is exactly the behavior Dr. Webb documented. Paranoia, aggression, get out. They left in a flurry of protests and hurt feelings. Ashley muttered something about ungrateful and trying to help. David said we'd talk when I was thinking clearly. Through the window, I saw Joe in his driveway, wrench in hand, watching their car speed away. He caught my eye and nodded. The silence after they left was deafening. I sat in my study, surrounded by 4 decades of work, photos of Margaret, certificates of appreciation from the community. The coffee grew cold in my cup. At 6:47 p.m., something made me check my desk drawer. The spare key to my safe was gone. The one I'd hidden under the false bottom, that only family knew about. My hands shook as I opened the safe. Everything was still there. Cash, bonds, Margaret's jewelry, the original deed to the business. But they'd have been back. I knew it in my bones. I called Emma in Australia. It was already Wednesday morning there. Dad, is everything okay? You sound upset. I told her everything. The silence on the other end grew longer with each detail. Those bastards, she finally said, Margaret's Scottish temper flaring in her daughter. Dad, you need to protect yourself. Now. I don't want to believe. Dad, they stole your safe key. They're coming back. You know it. I know it. Mom would be spinning in her grave. She was right. Margaret would have already been at the lawyer's office. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I planned. Wednesday morning, I called Robert Hutchins, my lawyer for 30 years. Bobby, I need to see you. Today. Bring your estate planning specialist. Everything all right, Harold? It will be. By noon, I was in their conference room with fresh coffee and a clear mind. I explained the situation. Bobby's face grew darker with each detail. The power of attorney papers they showed me, I said, sliding them across the table. What am I really signing? Sarah Chen, the estate specialist, examined them. Her expression went from professional to horrified. Mr. Peterson, this gives them complete control over everything. Finances, medical decisions, property. And this clause here, it's effective immediately, not just in case of incapacitation. And once I'm in the nursing home, You'd have no recourse. They could sell everything, dissolve the business, empty your accounts. You'd be completely dependent on them. Bobby leaned back in his chair, the leather creaking. Harold, this is criminal. They're attempting to steal everything you've built. What are my options? First, we protect your assets. Then, we document everything. Then, he smiled grimly. Then, we let them hang themselves. We spent 3 hours restructuring everything. I created an irrevocable trust, moving 80% of my assets into it with my nephew Michael, a successful surgeon who'd never asked for a penny, as trustee. The business went into a separate trust with provisions for the employees who'd been with me for over 10 years. They'd become co-owners if anything happened to me. What about Emma? Sarah asked. Set up a separate trust for her, $200,000 for each grandchild's education, the rest distributed over time. She doesn't need it all at once. She's got her mother's sense with money. The house would go to the city as a historic property, with funds allocated for its maintenance. Margaret had always loved the Historical Society's work. I kept $50,000 in checking, enough to seem substantial, but not enough to matter. The safe in my study. I moved everything to a bank deposit box, filling the home safe with fake documents showing millions in assets that didn't exist. Harold, Bobby said as we finished, they're going to come after you when they realize what you've done. Let them come. I've got nothing left for them to take. Thursday, I visited Golden Acres. The director, Mrs. Patterson, was a polished woman in her 50s who spoke about their premium services and luxury accommodations. My son, David, made a deposit, I said. Her face brightened. Oh, yes. Mr. Peterson. He was very thorough in explaining your situation. We're so glad you're being proactive about your care needs. What exactly did he tell you? She consulted her computer. That you're showing signs of dementia, becoming combative, unable to manage your affairs. He provided documentation. What documentation? She turned the screen. There it was, a doctor's note on letterhead I recognized. Dr. Marcus Webb, who golf with David every Sunday. The diagnosis, moderate cognitive decline, early-stage dementia, recommendation for full-time care. Interesting, I said, considering I've never been a patient of Dr. Webb's. Her expression shifted. Mr. Peterson? I'd like a copy of that, I said calmly, and all correspondence with my son. I believe my attorney will find it very interesting. Of course, Mr. Peterson. I must say, you seem quite lucid today. Good days and bad days, I replied, taking the papers. My next stop was Dr. Angela Morrison, my physician for 15 years. She ran a full cognitive evaluation, shaking her head the entire time. Harold, your mind is sharper than most 30-year-olds I know. This report from Dr. Webb, it's fraudulent. He's stating he performed tests that require hospital equipment. In his golf club. Can you document everything? Already printing it. Harold, this is serious. Filing false medical reports, especially for financial gain, that's fraud, elder abuse, conspiracy. Your son could face serious charges. Not yet, I said. I need a few more days. That evening, I had dinner with Joe and his wife Rosa. Over her homemade enchiladas, Margaret's favorite, I told them everything. That boy, Rosa said, shaking her head. Margaret would be heartbroken. She saw it coming, I admitted. The last month, when the pain medication made her honest, she told me to watch out for David. Said he had hungry eyes. I thought it was the drugs talking. "What's your plan?" Joe asked. "Give them enough rope," I said, "and document every inch of it." Friday morning, I had coffee at 5:47 a.m. as always, but this time I added a shot of whiskey. Margaret would have understood. At 7 a.m., I called David. "Son, I've been thinking. You're right. I need help. Could you and Ashley come by tomorrow? Bring those papers again. I'll sign everything." The pause was telling. "Really?" His voice cracked with excitement. "I mean, that's great, Dad. We just want what's best for you." "I know you do. Oh, and David, I've been organizing the financial documents you asked for. Everything's in the safe in my study. The combination is Mom's birthday." Another pause. I could practically hear the greed. That's great, Dad. We'll be there at 10 a.m. "Perfect. And son, I love you." "Yeah, Dad, me too." The lie hurt more than his betrayal. I spent Friday afternoon installing the hidden cameras my security consultant had recommended months ago. One in the study, focused on the safe, one in the living room, one in the kitchen, all connected to my phone, all recording to the cloud. I also called Michael, explained everything, asked him to be ready. "Uncle Harold, I'm so sorry. David's really doing this." "He is. Can you be here tomorrow? Bring your friend from the FBI, the one who works elder fraud." "James?" "Of course. Uncle Harold. Are you okay?" I thought about it. "I will be. Your aunt would want me to handle this properly." Saturday morning arrived gray and drizzling, like the sky was mourning what was about to happen. I made my coffee, sat in my study, and waited. At 9:47 a.m., I heard the front door open. They had a key, of course. I watched on my phone as David and Ashley went straight to my study. They didn't call out, didn't check if I was home. They went directly to the safe. "His mom's birthday," David muttered, spinning the dial. 03-15-52. The safe opened. I watched Ashley's eyes go wide as she saw the stacks of cash, prop money from a movie supply company, the fake bonds, the doctored bank statements showing $2.8 million in liquid assets. "Oh my God," she breathed. "David, there's more here than we thought." "The old bastard's been hiding it," David said, pulling out documents. "Look at this. Offshore accounts, treasury bonds. Must be $5 million here, easy." "Grab everything," Ashley ordered, pulling out a duffel bag. "We'll sort it at home." They emptied the safe methodically. Ashley took photos of each document. "For the lawyer," she said, "we need to move fast once he's in Golden Acres. That old bastard has been holding out on us." 2 weeks, David said. 2 weeks, and this house is ours. Sell it, sell the business, set for life. Should have done this years ago. Your mom would have stopped you." David laughed an ugly sound. "Mom was as stupid as he is." "Family first, David. Take care of each other, David. Yeah, right. Only family I care about is us." "What about Emma?" "What about her?" "She abandoned the family, moved to Australia. She gets nothing." They were so absorbed in their theft, they didn't hear me enter. I stood in the doorway, phone recording, waiting. Ashley saw me first. The color drained from her face like water from a broken dam. "Dad!" David spun around, papers scattering. "We were just... You asked us to organize." "I did ask you to come," I said calmly, "but not to rob me." "This isn't what it looks like," Ashley stammered. "Really? Because it looks like you're stealing from an old man you're planning to lock away?" I held up my phone. Smile for the camera. The police will want clear footage. David's face went from pale to red. You can't prove anything. We have power of attorney. No, you have fraudulent documents created with a doctor who's about to lose his license. I pulled out the real papers. Dr. Morrison ran actual tests. I'm perfectly healthy, mentally and physically. The house, Ashley started, isn't mine anymore. Transferred to the Historical Society yesterday. You're actually trespassing right now. The business, David was getting desperate, belongs to the employees as of Thursday. I kept a consulting role, salary of $50,000 a year, enough for coffee and books. You can't do this. David lunged forward, but I stepped aside. 40 years of physical labor had kept me stronger than my soft son. I already have. Michael, you can come in now. My nephew entered with 2 police officers and a man in an FBI windbreaker. Detective Sarah Mills, whom I'd spoken with Friday afternoon, looked at the scene with professional interest. Mr. Peterson, are these the individuals you reported for theft and fraud? Yes, Detective. You'll find everything documented on those cameras, plus attempted elder abuse through fraudulent medical documents. Agent James Wheeler stepped forward. Mr. Peterson, Jr., Mrs. Peterson, I'm with the FBI's Elder Fraud Unit. The interstate nature of your conspiracy, false medical documents, fraudulent nursing home arrangements, and attempted theft of this magnitude, makes this a federal case. As the officers handcuffed my son and his wife, David's face twisted with rage. You ruined everything. That money is mine. I'm your son. You were my son, I corrected. My son died when he decided I was nothing but a bank account with a heartbeat. Ashley was crying now, mascara running. My Instagram followers. What will people think? The truth, for once, I said. As they were led away, Detective Mills stayed behind. The documents you provided, the medical fraud, the recording of them planning to institutionalize you against your will, it's a solid case. They're looking at serious time. I don't want them destroyed, I said, suddenly tired. Just stopped. She nodded. The DA will probably offer a plea, 3 to 5 years, restitution for the attempted theft. Agent Wheeler added, the federal charges are more serious. Conspiracy to commit elder fraud, interstate wire fraud, identity theft. They're looking at 5 to 10 minimum. After everyone left, I sat in Margaret's kitchen, drinking coffee from her favorite mug. The house felt different, lighter somehow. My phone rang. Emma. Dad? Michael called me. Are you okay? I'm fine, sweetheart. It's done. I'm flying home. I'll be there Monday. You don't need to? Yes, I do. Dad, I'm so sorry. I should have seen this coming. I should have been there. You have your own life, Emma. Your mother and I wanted that for you. I know, but you shouldn't have faced this alone. That evening, Joe and Rosa came over with dinner. We ate in silence for a while before Rosa spoke. Margaret would be proud of you, Harold. You did what needed doing. Would she? I stared at my coffee. I just sent my son to prison. No, Joe said firmly. He sent himself to prison. You just refused to be his victim. That was 3 months ago. David and Ashley took the plea deal. 2 years in prison, 3 years probation. They'll be out in 18 months with good behavior. The federal charges were dropped in exchange for full restitution and cooperation. The house is now the Peterson Margaret Memorial Museum, showcasing the history of family businesses in our town. The company continues to thrive under employee ownership. I consult 3 days a week, teaching the old techniques to young apprentices who actually want to learn. Emma stayed for a month, helping me sort through everything. We donated Margaret's clothes to the women's shelter, kept her jewelry for Emma's daughters. We found letters Margaret had written but never sent to David, trying to reach him, to warn him about the path he was on. Michael calls every Sunday. We have pot roast using Margaret's recipe. He brings his kids who actually want to hear stories about their great-aunt Margaret and the early days of the business. Last week, I got a letter from David. 6 pages of blame and bitterness, ending with a demand that I put money in his commissary account. I sent him a photo instead. Me at Margaret's grave with fresh roses and a simple note. She would have forgiven you. I'm not her. Some might say I was too harsh. That family should forgive anything. But Margaret didn't raise me to be a doormat. She raised me to know my worth. And sometimes the greatest gift you can give your children is letting them face the consequences of their choices. The safe in my study sits empty now, door open. I keep coffee grounds in it, dark roast, no sugar. Every morning at 5:47 a.m., I make a cup and toast the empty space where fake millions once lay. To Margaret, I say to the sunrise, and to knowing when enough is enough. Last month, I started dating again, Helen from the Historical Society. She knew Margaret, loved her. She told me once, Helen said over dinner, that if anything happened to her, I should check on you. Make sure you were eating real food, not just coffee and construction site sandwiches. Even gone, Margaret was still looking out for me. If someone you trust is pushing too hard for control of your life, listen to that whisper of doubt. It might just save you from a cage built by those who claim to love you most. Like and subscribe if you believe in justice served at exactly the right temperature. And remember, the best inheritance you can leave your children isn't money. It's the knowledge that actions have consequences and betrayal has a price.